Welcome in to the third ever episode of The Point After with Mitch Kaiser. I am your host, Mitch Kaiser, and I am joined here today with the other host of the PFF College Football Show, the better host, some might say, Max Chadwick. Max, how we doing, man? I had to get you and Dalton on first. I'm so excited you guys could join me. Welcome in.
Of course, dude. I appreciate having me on. Yeah, I am hopefully the better host of me and Dalton. But yeah, dude, it's awesome that you're doing this now, man. I watched the episode that you and Dalton did. It was great. I'm excited to be on with you today, man.
Excited to have you, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, and we're you and I were 4-0 actually. So I know we started 4-0, so that's a good start to my picks in the bracket, and we'll try to keep going. We'll try to do another 4-0 this week coming up. Got 4 awesome quarterfinal games to preview. We're gonna start with the Saturday games. Now we got 4 games this week coming up. 1 on New Year's Eve, followed by 3 on New Year's Day. We're going to talk about the Saturday games first. Every preview show I've listened to so far has previewed the Ohio State game first. So let's save that one for the end so it's fresh in our minds for the Wednesday night game. The 3 games on Saturday, we got the noon game. Number 5, Oregon Ducks taking on Texas Tech. I believe the Ducks are still favored by 2.5 on that one. The Rose Bowl is at the 5 p.m. game. Indiana, number 1 ranked Indiana, taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide, number 9. And then followed by the night game is an SEC rematch. Number 3, Georgia Bulldogs taking on number 6, Ole Miss Rebels. And then obviously the only New Year's Eve game is Ohio State versus Miami. Which game are you looking forward to most, Max?
Oh, man. Probably Texas Tech, Oregon. I think that game, I could see that game going down as the best game of not only the entire college football playoff that we get this year, but maybe one of the best games of the entire year. I genuinely have no idea who's going to win that game. It's going to be awesome to see Dante Moore, who I think right now is QB1 in the draft, go up against that all-time Texas Tech defense. I think that game is a complete coin flip right now, where I kind of have a feeling that the other 3 games, I'm like, okay, I feel like this team should win this game, but obviously all four games should be good. That game, I have no idea who's going to win that game. And I think I really think there's a chance that it's going to end up being an all-time game that we get on Thursday.
I'm with you. What a great way to ring in the new year. The first game at noon that day. I'm excited. That game is loaded with NFL talent on both sides of the ball. And obviously all these games are, but that game in particular is like an elite trench battle. You got the best O-line in Oregon versus the best D-line in Texas Tech. I can't wait for it. Let's start off with that game, actually. 2 12-1 teams. The over-under is 52.5. 2 teams who have elite defenses, but also know how to put points on the board. Texas Tech, to me, is the ultimate wild card in this tournament because we just don't know what they'll look like against elite competition. We haven't really seen it in the Big 12. They sort of dominated everyone they played outside of one game. They have the largest margin of victory at 29 points per game. And I'll come out and say it. Texas Tech was my champion in a bracket that I made a couple weeks ago for the the college football playoff bracket. I got Texas Tech over Georgia in that one. And a couple reasons why. I think it's the best defense in the country. Like you said, elite defensive line led by David Bailey, Romello Height, who are both going to be first-round picks. I mean, talk about Ruben Bain being a top 3 pick. David Bailey could be one as well. I mean, he is just as good, 90 PFF grade with like 13 and a half sacks or something, like one of the tops in the country. The highest team defensive grade. People were impressed by Indiana's defense. That was a 94 PFF grade. Texas Tech has a 96 PFF grade. Tell us about their elite defense.
Dude, it's crazy. If you actually look, right, you mentioned the 96 PFF grade. If you look at all of the defensive grades on PFF they are number 1 in the country in run defense grade, number 1 in the country in tackling grade, number 1 in the country in pass rush grade, and number 1 in the country in coverage grade. Like, that's just insane. You usually, like, the best defenses in the country usually are like number 1 in one of those metrics, and then maybe like top 10, top 15, or top 20 in the other metrics. And like, no, Texas Tech is the best in every metric. Now, you're right. They have played BYU, which I think BYU is a good team. I would have had BYU in the playoff, honestly. And they beat BYU pretty soundly both times. But other than that, you're kind of wondering, okay, what would it look like against an Oregon offense led by the hottest quarterback in the country right now, and Dante Moore, an elite offensive line that Oregon's got too, some really good weapons, and obviously 3 fantastic running backs they have too. That's the big storyline is, okay, how good is the Texas Tech defense? I'm with you. I have Texas Tech actually winning this game because I think I don't think people understand just how good this Texas Tech defense is. I think it's up there with like the 2022 Georgia defense that we saw a few years ago, like some of the other defenses that we saw recently. I think this is truly going to go down as one of the all-time great defenses that we see in college football. And I think Oregon is going to be interesting to see if they could pull it off against it. If they can, and if Dante Moore can play well, then I mean, I'm already all in on Dante Moore. I'll be even more all in on this kid if he comes out there and has a great game against that defense and leads the Ducks to victory.
Yeah, you got that right. The only defense, in fact, who has given Dante Moore any sort of fits has been Indiana's defense, who is the second highest PFF grade in team defense next to Texas Tech. So there you go. This is the ultimate challenge for Dante and the ultimate test for this Oregon O-line. We haven't even talked about Jacob Rodriguez, who I think is the best defensive player in the country. It seems like every time he goes for the football, he just knocks it out. Tell us about Rodriguez and what he can bring in the second level of this Texas Tech defense.
Everything. And if he's not the best defensive player in the country, his teammate David Bailey is, honestly. Like, that's just how good this Texas Tech defense is, honestly. I think Rodriguez, man, what he did at linebacker this year is crazy. I would have had him as a Heisman finalist, honestly.
He should have been there. He should have been in New York for sure. Yeah.
Crazy, man. Like, I think he's like number one in the country in run defense grade and number one in the country in coverage grade for almost all defensive players. And, you know, he has like a few picks this year. He has like the 7 forced fumbles this year. He's always making tackles too. He's an unbelievable football player, man. And I know the measurables probably won't be the best for him, and that's why he might fall to like the third round of the NFL draft. But man, if I'm an NFL team and he's available to me on day 2 of the draft, and you need a linebacker, I would love to have Jacob Rodriguez on my team, dude. What he's doing this year is absolutely crazy.
Imagine drafting good football players, man. I mean, there's no way that guy won't find his place in the league some way. So the reason I picked Texas Tech to win it in my initial bracket is I just think they are a strong team across the board who really doesn't have a true weakness on this roster. I mean, they have a great receiving core with Caleb Douglas, Virgil, and Coy Aiken out there with another NFL tight end in Terrence Carter. 2 dynamic running backs who can each bring something else to the table. You got Cameron Dickey, who's the power back, and then Jacoby Williams brings the speed. Both good pass catchers as well. Honestly, the only question mark for this team, who is really quarterback Baron Morton, who has dealt with some injuries this season. When he's healthy and protected, he's great. The raw numbers are good, 67 completion percentage, almost 9 yards per pass, 162 passer rating. I mean, the numbers are there, the stats are there for Baron Morton when he has time to throw in a clean pocket. When protection breaks down, he's not much of an improviser. Not great with his legs compared to like Will Hammond, who is the backup. But when Morton is healthy in a clean pocket, he's been great. 79 PFF grade. Why do you think this game could come down to Baron Morton ultimately?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I'll point to. It's not like Baron Morton's been a bad quarterback this year at all, but like I would probably say he's the worst quarterback remaining out of the 8 quarterbacks we have left in the playoff right now. But again, he's not been bad. I think Baron Morton, you mentioned it perfectly. He's fantastic from a clean pocket. When he's under pressure, though, that's when he really starts to fall apart a little bit. So I think that's the one thing. And Dolan picked Oregon to win this game. And, you know, one of the things he said that I agree with, he's like, I think Oregon has a major advantage at quarterback. And I think that would be big in this one. I completely agree with him. I think Dante Moore is one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the country right now. And Baron Morton is, again, a solid option, but I don't think he's by no means a superstar. Now, the one thing why I picked Texas Tech to win this game, too, though, is that Texas Tech's O-line has been fantastic this year. And I think Oregon's pass rush, which has been, you know, good, not great, I think that'll be a matchup where if they can protect Baron Morton, which I think they will enough, then I think he could be good enough to take advantage of all the weapons he has. And yes, I know Oregon's got a great secondary too, but I think he'll do enough in this game. I'm not going to say he's going to lead the team to victory. I think, you know, whatever games they win in this playoff will be because of the defense first, and then whatever they can get out of Baron Morton second. But yeah, I think that's the one thing for Texas Tech is looking at their roster is like, hey, can Baron Morton just do enough to not lose these games for Texas Tech?
On the flip side, Max, you convinced me early on this season. You were coming into the season. You were all in on Dante Moore, who I did not know too much about. I hadn't watched too much of him at UCLA, and I knew he sat the bench under Dylan Gabriel last year. You were all in on him from the jump. You said he was QB1. I'm sold, man. I'm all in on this guy as QB1 for this upcoming draft. Tell us about how his development this year in that Oregon offense and what makes him so special, potentially taking the next step next year.
Yeah, I just thought, I remember watching the UCLA tape 2 years ago when he was a true freshman, and it was not pretty. Don't get me wrong; it was not great at all. But you could see some of the NFL throws from him on tape there, and I just thought, man, he goes to Oregon for a year, sits behind Dylan Gabriel. He has Will Stein, who I think is one of the best offensive coordinators. I would say he is the best offensive coordinator in the country. Now he's going to be the
Kentucky job, right?
Yeah, Kentucky head coach next year, which I think is home run hire by Kentucky. I was like, all right, I think with what Will Stein and what Oregon has done in the past with quarterbacks like Dylan Gabriel and Bo Nix, I think Dante Moore could be incredible, and he has been. He's been even better than I thought he would be this year, honestly. And I think, I said a lot of the C.J. Stroud comps for Dante Moore, I think are valid. I think he is a franchise quarterback in the NFL, and I as of right now, I would take him over Fernando Mendoza or Ty Simpson if I need a quarterback in the NFL draft.
I agree. I'm with you on that one. That would be my order of the quarterbacks for draft as well. All right, time to do a score prediction for this one. I know you said you got Texas Tech, obviously coming away from my bracket as Texas Tech. I am taking Texas Tech in this one, but I do think Oregon is a formidable foe for them. I think it's going to be an evenly matched game, back and forth. I got the Red Raiders coming out of this one 27-22. I think their defense makes just enough stops and gives Dante Moore just enough trouble in protection to throw him off his game a little bit. I don't think you can completely take Moore out of the game because he's just so talented, so good, and over a 60-minute game, he will find ways to pick you apart. But I think this is the best defense in the country he's going up against, and I think they're going to dial it up and get just enough stops to win 27-22. What do you got?
I have it 27-24, and honestly, I would even predict overtime for this one. I think this, like I said, I think it's going to be all-time college football playoff game that we get. This is the one I'm most excited for out of all of them. It's so hard for me to pick a winner in this one. I'm going to side with Texas Tech's defense because I think it really is that special of a unit. But Dante Moore, like I said before, he is the hottest quarterback in college football right now. And I think if anyone could beat the Texas Tech defense, is probably him, that Oregon offensive line, and those weapons that they have too. So, again, it's a complete coin flip. I think it's 50-50 on both sides. I'm going to side with Texas Tech in this one, but I genuinely I can see either of these teams winning very easily. And I like I said, it might end up being the best college football playoff game we get the entire tournament.
As someone who believes defense wins championships, I got to give the slight edge to the Red Raiders to get it done. All right. Moving on to the Rose Bowl at the second game on Saturday, we have number 9 Alabama Crimson Tide taking on number 1 Indiana Hoosiers, who are undefeated, the only undefeated team left in all of college football, as opposed to Bama, who has 3 losses. Now, Max, this game is probably the one you and I differ on the most, which I'll get into my reasons in a second here. Start this one off with, why is Indiana the top-ranked team? What makes this team so special? How has Mendoza been this good for the Hoosiers this season?
Yeah, honestly, I think what makes them so special is they don't have a weakness. I can't point to anything. Dawn and I did articles previewing each team, and I remember for the playoff, and I remember when we get to the biggest weakness section, it was I don't even know what to put for this. There's a couple of teams like that where Indiana and Ohio State, I think, are 2 of them, or no, even Oregon was a hard one too. It was man, I don't know what their weakness is. They don't really have a glaring weakness right now. That's what makes this Indiana team so good, is that they are one of the best offenses in the country with a Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback, and they have one of the best defenses in the country. Mentioned before, the number 2 defense in PFF grade so far this year. So I don't know what the weakness is, and I think that's the big thing for Indiana, is that for almost any other team in the playoff and in college football, you can say, okay, they're good at this, yes, but they could really be exposed in this area where they're not very good at all. For Indiana, I don't know what that is right now. I think that's why they're 13-0. It's why they beat Ohio State. It's why they're the best team in college football right now. I genuinely don't know what the weakness is for Indiana, and not only are they strong everywhere, I mean, they're almost elite everywhere, too, on this team, too. So I think that's the big thing for Indiana, is there's not just one thing that you could point to and say, oh, wow, they're incredible at that. They are strong all over this roster right now. When you combine that with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, it's a pretty special team right now.
You said best, they really don't have a weakness when you analyze their team, and you got the Heisman Trophy winner, Mendoza. He is as solid as it gets. He is as efficient as it gets, as accurate as it gets. And his NFL receivers, who Omar Cooper, I believe, will be back in this one. Charlie Becker, Surratt, weapons for days on the outside. And also a strong defensive line, who's the only one to get 3 or more sacks on Ohio State on Julian saying they had 5 total sacks in that game. You said best, they are the best overall team in the country. So for me coming into this one, this is one of those games where, you know, after all the college football I've watched in my life, to look at Indiana as a 7-point favorite over Alabama, it's wild times we've gotten in 2025. So for me, it's very hard to analyze this game without a little bit of respect towards Alabama, which I would argue they've earned that respect over time. It's one of those, like, you know, until you beat the best, you know, I kind of give it to them. I gave them the nod in the Georgia game, and then, you know, they obviously let me down and bounced back a little bit in the Oklahoma game. But yeah, the reasons why I think this game there could be an upset on the table in this one is you have the program history. Alabama is the been there, done that. You know, they're not scared of any opponent. Not saying IU is scared. We know Kurt Cignetti's not scared of anyone. So I will say Alabama has lost a little bit of the luster of putting that fear in their opponents when Saban was on the sidelines. I will admit that. But I do think Ty Simpson is a gamer out there. You got LT Overton coming back. He's their second leading sack leader with 5.5 on the season. Opens up more opportunities for Bama to get home. Their pass rush has not been great. They're going to need that, obviously, against a stout O-line like Indiana and the Heisman Trophy winner in Mendoza. You have a little bit of coaching history here, which I think is funny. You got DeBoer, who came from Indiana when he had Michael Penix, and you have Cignetti, who started out at Alabama as assistant way back in the day. Tell us what this team is lacking compared to previous Alabama teams who have gone further in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you would never see this from a Nick Saban coach team, and I'm sure he's not very happy with this right now, but like they can't run the football. And that's something that you never would see at Alabama. You know, for a program that's had Heisman Trophy winning running backs in Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram, you know, you would never expect an Alabama team with or without Nick Saban to not be truly incapable of running the football. That's what Alabama is right now. They cannot run the football. It's not even. I don't think it's worth even talking about for this Indiana game. Like, oh, can they run the ball? Like, no, they're not going to be able to. This game is going to come down to Ty Simpson. It's going to be whether or not he can carry this team against that Indiana defense, because Alabama's been one of the worst teams in the country at running the ball this year, and Indiana's one of the best teams at defending the run this year. There's just no matchup I can point to here and say, oh, Alabama will be able to run the ball. I would be floored. I think this is the biggest mismatch, I think, in the entire quarterfinals, I think, is Indiana's run D against Alabama's run game. So I think that's a big problem for them right now. They've been way too reliant on Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson has been a little bit of a roller coaster this year too, where, you know, some games he's outstanding, and really it comes down to, can Ty Simpson handle the blitz and handle the pressure? Some games he's been great at it, like the Oklahoma game in the first round. Some games he's been terrible at it, like the Oklahoma game in the regular season, right? So he's been a little bit of a roller coaster this year too. You mentioned before, Alabama's got no pass rush right now. They need to kind of, you know, send a blitz to get pressure on quarterbacks. It's been a little bit better in some games, like the Oklahoma game actually in the playoff. Actually, I was pretty impressed by some guys like Keon Keeley, the former 5-star recruit, making some plays back there. But yeah, it's the run game. It's Ty Simpson being a little bit of a roller coaster, and it's the fact that their pass rush has just not been very good at all this year either. Those are the three, I think, glaring weaknesses on this Alabama team right now.
Yeah, definitely on the run game there. I mean, Jam Miller has got to find a way to get something going on the ground, which, like you said, I don't even know if that's possible for him or Daniel Hill to get anything going. I believe they only had 27 rushing yards against Oklahoma, which that you're not going to win the football game against Indiana being that one-dimensional. So Jam Miller's longest rush versus OU was 7 yards. So, like, they just have to find a way to get something open, which the O-line obviously could be the concern against a defensive line like Indiana's. Stephen Daly being out does help a little bit for Alabama's chances. Obviously, Stephen Daly, one of Indiana's top pass rushers, I believe he had 5 sacks on the season. So there opens up a little bit of an opportunity, but you're exactly right. Ty Simpson is going to have to yet again win this football game for the Crimson Tide. Let's talk about those two quarterbacks now, because like you said, we had the Heisman winner in Fernando Mendoza, 2 potential first-round picks here. Tell us what you like about each of these two quarterbacks and why they could each be first-round picks.
Mendoza you can't. He's unflappable. I think that's what I've been most impressed by with him. And there's been games where he hasn't played great, right? But there's so many times where you think you can have him down and out. The kid never gives up, man. And I think that speaks to him as not only as a player but as a person. And I think that you saw him in his Heisman speech too. He's a tremendous kid. He is unflappable. Literally, he's the toughest kid. I think he's the toughest quarterback in the country right now. I think you can see the Oregon game where they beat him by 10 on the road at Oregon. They beat Penn State on the road at Penn State where Mendoza had a 75 or 80-yard touchdown drive to win at the very end of the game. The Iowa game where they needed a touchdown, he threw one to Elijah Surratt. The Ohio State game, honestly, when he got clobbered like the first play of the game.
First play of the game.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, this is over. Like, Ohio's going to win this game now. Comes back in a couple plays later and he has a career-high PFF grade against Ohio State. That's what won him the Heisman Trophy, in my opinion, that game, too. So he's unflappable. I think for Ty Simpson, I think from a clean pocket, he's been deadly. I think when he's under pressure, when teams blitz him a little bit more, it's a little not as great for Ty Simpson. But I think from a clean pocket, he's been really good. He's a very smart quarterback. He's obviously the son of a college football coach right now, too. But I think Ty Simpson, he's a smart guy. He's accurate. He's really good from a clean pocket. He's got good mechanics. Can run a little bit when need to. It's when he's under pressure that you start to see a little more of the cracks with Ty Simpson. But I've been impressed by him, though, this year, too. I'm with you. I think both these guys right now are probably, projected first-round picks in this draft this year.
Yep, I agree. I got them both QB2, QB3. I'm gonna give the edge to whoever comes out and wins this game. You gotta earn the QB2 by winning this game. Right now, I probably have Mendoza's slight advantage over Ty Simpson in the draft. He's got the physical tools, 6'5", big arm. Underrated mobility for Mendoza. He picks up a lot of first downs with his legs, which is honestly a huge part of this Indiana offense. We'll need to continue to do that in this game against a good defense like Alabama's. They do have a couple players coming back from injury, which could help. But yeah, no, Ty Simpson is going to have yet again his best game of the season in order to win this for Alabama. 90 PFF grade for Mendoza versus 84 grade to Simpson. All the raw numbers, Mendoza leads in completion percentage, yards per attempt. The only area where I'll give Simpson the edge is drops. His receivers drop the football like none other compared to Mendoza. I believe Mendoza's only had 6 total drops from his wide receiving core all season versus 30 on Alabama. So, that is the one area where I do think Simpson is – I'm not going to say doing more with less, but doing the same, doing a lot with less compared to Mendoza's supporting cast. So, yeah, I'm excited to watch this quarterback battle. I think it's the the best quarterback battle in between game. I'm still giving Dante Moore the best advantage there. But I'm excited to watch the game within a game here, if you will, and to see who could come out as the higher draft pick on the other side. Give me your score prediction, Max. Let's hear it, and then I'll give you my pick.
Yeah, I had it Indiana 27-17. I had it in this one. I just think Alabama's offense, which is so one-dimensional right now, is going to be incredibly reliant on Ty Simpson, and I think Cignetti knows that, and they're going to be blitzing the hell out of Ty Simpson in this one. I think Simpson's going to do enough to put up 17 points, but honestly, it could be interesting, too, because Alabama's run D is pretty good, so it could come down to quarterback in this one for Mendoza versus Simpson. Yeah. I'll side with Mendoza, who's been a little more consistent than Simpson this year. And like I said, I think there's a chance Indiana's got a good ground game in this game. I don't think there's any chance at all that Alabama's got a good ground game at all. So I think I'm going to go with Indiana to win this one 27-17.
That's fair. I think on paper, Indiana has the advantage across the board. I think they are the better football team when you just look at the raw data. I'm a sucker for college football history, Max. I'm a sucker for the old narratives here. I cannot willingly pick Indiana to beat Alabama in a game of football. I just cannot do it. I'm going with the Crimson Tide in an upset pick. I think they forced Mendoza into a turnover. I think he hasn't had any multi-turnover games. They may need to make that happen in order to pull this one out. I think they force him into one interception at least. They get somewhat of a little bit run game to stay ahead of the chains, to stay out of 3rd and long. And I think they give Ty Simpson just enough protection against this Indiana front to get it done. I think we see a bounce back game from Ryan Williams, who was a non-factor in the Oklahoma game. Something about Ty Simpson, man. I just think he's a gamer out there, and I think he has won big games for Alabama this year. I'm not saying Mendoza hasn't. He obviously won them the Ohio State game, but I just think in a bright lights playoff moment here, the Rose Bowl, Alabama is the team who's been there and done that in football before. I am taking the Crimson Tide to upset Indiana 23-20.
All right, man. I don't hate it. I think you made a good point with the turnovers because Alabama, and Dalton even mentioned this before, Alabama, whenever they need a huge turnover, they always get it, right? So I think that's going to be interesting. Their secondary is outstanding. It's probably the biggest strength of the team, I would argue, right now. Bama's secondary is so freaking good. So
if they can take Indiana's weapons, not out of the game, but if they can manage them, I agree. I think that is where they hold the advantage, honestly, in the secondary. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, you're good. I mean, that's what I was going to say. Is like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think Bama's secondary, which disguises coverages a lot too. I think that they could. That's a great matchup to watch too. Is Mendoza and how he does against that secondary. So yeah, they come up with huge turnovers when they need them. We'll see if they can do it again against Indiana. Because I feel like if Alabama's going to win this game, which I think is possible, I think that turnovers will be huge in this one too.
Yep, gotta have a turnover or two. I definitely think that is the way. That is Bama's path to winning, and I had him in my bracket, so I'm keeping it, man. We're going with the upset. Alrighty, let's move on to the final Saturday night game, which is the SEC rematch of number 6 Ole Miss versus number 3 Georgia. It's funny, Ole Miss has played both of these teams in the regular season already, so they're not getting any new teams. They've got more film on all these teams now that they can go back and use on Georgia, which obviously Georgia can do the same on Ole Miss. But spread in this one is 6.5, which I think is fair. Over under is 56. I think this could be the highest scoring game again. We obviously know what happened in the first game, 35-43. Bulldogs came out on top. Just in an absolute shootout, man. I mean, there was zero defense played in this game. 510 yards for Georgia versus 351 for Ole Miss. Georgia did not punt once in this game. So I don't know if you remember that. Like, I went back and looked, and I was like, is that true? And no, they did not punt once. Pete Golding said their goal is to get Georgia to punt once and start there and go from there in this game. So tell us about how this game could potentially be different from the first one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think Georgia's defense is playing a lot better than it did early on in the year. I mean, remember, like, the Tennessee game was an absolute shootout. The Ole Miss game was obviously a shootout, too.
Quick note, that was one of the best games of the season still. Like, all the way back to week 3.
God, that was awesome.
Dude, Tennessee should have won that still. And then a 4th and 8 absolute dime by Stockton to just win the game and force overtime. Elite game. Sorry, continue.
I would say that might have been Stockton's best game of the year, honestly. He was fantastic in that game. Aguilar and him was going throw for throw. It was awesome to watch that game. But I think Georgia's defense recently, if you look at what they've done, I mean, I believe it's 4 straight games where they've allowed 10 points or fewer, right, or something like that. So I think their defense. To your
point, I put a note in front of me. So the first 7 games, including that Ole Miss game, Georgia allowed 21.7 points per game. After the last 6 games, Georgia only allowed 11.6 per game. So that just shows right there the adjustments that Kirby made. So impressed by what he's been able to do with this defense again. Tell us about some of those adjustments and how they've dominated the second half of the season defensively.
Yeah, their run defense is fantastic. I think their D-line is really good. Their linebackers are really, really good with C.J. Allen. I love their secondary, too. Guys like K.J. Bolden back there. Ellis Robinson's really turned into a really good player at corner, too. I think Georgia overall has just been fantastic. I think the only weakness on Georgia's team and is on the defense, I should say, is the pass rush. I think their pass rush has been non-existent this year, but they've been able to get around it by blitzing a lot, by sending all these exotic blitz packages at quarterbacks. I think that'll be big in this one too against Ole Miss. But yeah, I mean, their run defense has been phenomenal. I think that's what Georgia's biggest thing is, that they do not miss tackles at all. They're one of the best tackling teams in the country. And then also their run defense has been fantastic this year too. So yeah, the pass rush is not great. It's one of the worst actually in the country right now. If you look at the grading for PFF, I believe, 13th worst pass rush grade in the country. But the secondaries helped that out a lot. They've been able to blitz and help out that pass rush enough too. But yeah, this Georgia defense, man, like I said, it was 4 straight games now with 10 points allowed or fewer, which is, I mean, that's elite stuff right there. So I don't think it'll be as much of a shootout as the last game was. But I think this Georgia defense will be really good against Trinidad Chambliss once again.
I'm with you. I also have a lower score in this one. I don't think we get as many points. I think Georgia has much more tape on Trinidad Chambliss now. That was one of his first games as a starter for Ole Miss, where he was great as a passer in that game until the fourth quarter. I believe Ole Miss opened up the game with 5 straight touchdown drives, and then like 3 and outs in the fourth quarter, and that just ended the game. Like Georgia just ran out the clock and won it. But Chambliss has still been impressive overall as a passer. I think if Ole Miss wants to win this game, I think they're going to have to run the ball. They could not get any run game going against Georgia last time, which was the opposite for the Bulldogs. Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens ran all over this team, along with Stockton has impressed me all season long, man. I mean, coming into the season, I did not think they were going to make the playoffs or be in this position, and he has just won me over. I believe like 82 PFF grade, just taking what the defense gives him in the run game too. I think his biggest threat for Georgia's offense is his ability to pick up first downs with his legs and extend the play. On the other side of the line, we got Ole Miss's defense, which I would argue Ole Miss's defense is maybe the weakest link left in the playoffs, which I don't want to harp on that too much because they're an impressive team overall and they have earned the right to be here. But tell us why they struggled in the first matchup defensively and what could they possibly change this time to have better luck against Georgia.
Yeah, their run D in the first game was not very good. They allowed 226 yards, in that game. And then, honestly, if you look at the numbers by the scheme, 100 of those 226 rushing yards came on inside zone. So that was something that the Ole Miss defense is not ready for. The D tackles, Xavier Harris and Will Eccles, both of them really struggled against Georgia. They allowed 5.6 yards per carry on inside zone. So I think that's the number one thing is that I think Georgia, with Kirby Smart, they're going to run Nate Frazier, who's a fantastic running back, by the way, true sophomore that the Bulldogs got. They're going to run inside zone until they can't, honestly, in this one. So I think Ole Miss has got to be ready for inside zone in this game. And I think that's a big reason why they had so much success offensively was because that, on inside zone and also Gunnar Stockton on the perimeter to his receivers were really, really good. I think that those two things right there are going to be huge for Georgia once again in this game.
I agree. I think that will ultimately win Georgia this football game. My score prediction, I have Georgia winning this one 37-24. So I think this is my highest scoring game of the weekend. I think that we're going to see the most total points in this one. Not as high scoring as the first matchup from October, but I think Georgia wins by 2 scores in this one, 37-24. What do you got?
I have multiple scores too. I have Georgia 34-24. I think that this is probably the game I can see a world where Alabama pulls it off against Indiana. I can see a world where Miami pulls it off against Ohio State. Obviously, the Texas Tech Oregon game we talked about, right? It's a complete coin flip. This is the one where I would be most surprised if Ole Miss pulled it out against Georgia. Obviously, no Lane Kiffin in this game either. I think that's a big part of it. And also, I mean, yeah, I know the numbers were not that bad for Chambliss. I know they put up 35 points in that game too, but that might have been Chambliss' worst game of the year, honestly, against Georgia. And I think, he had a season-low PFF grade, season-low completion percentage, and Georgia ran a lot of man coverage in that game. And Ole Miss, if you go back and watch the tape, they just could not get open against the man coverage. So I think Chambliss, they could struggle once again in this one. Chambliss has got to play a lot better than he did against Georgia in the last one. And Ole Miss's defense has got to play a lot better, too, against a really, really balanced Georgia offense. So, yeah, this is, again, like I said before, I have a 34-24, and I'd probably be most surprised if Ole Miss won this game more so than any other team left in the quarterfinals.
I think I agree with that take. I would probably set this spread as the largest if I were making the spreads for these games. The first one was honestly an odd game because Georgia was down 9 going into the fourth, which is you just don't see that happen much, and 35 points in the first 3 quarters, and then they just totally flipped a switch on them. So, and then it didn't feel close after Georgia took the lead. So, like, I want to give Ole Miss their due and their respect because they've earned their way here. This is the only team they've lost to. So, really, when you boil it down, it's like they could be in position to win the football game. But I think in a rematch, I think Georgia really got their number and knows how to beat them now. So 37-24.
I was going to say, Mitch, real quick, I think this is the game where you're going to see the absence of Lane Kiffin a lot. I think this is the game where you're like, okay, this is why the offense is missing Lane Kiffin, right? A Tulane game, they can get by without him. Like, that was fine. Like, I didn't think that Tulane's going to have a chance to win that game, but this is the game I think we're going to come back from it afterwards over and be like, yeah, they could use Lane Kiffin out there. And
Do you think we'll see him? Do you think we'll see him in the press box?
No,
for this
no, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't dare show up. He would not dare. He would get. Oh my God, they need like a security team around him to show up to this game.
Too soon.
I think Charlie Weiss Jr., who by the way is a really good OC, but I think this is the game where Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann are going to have a really good game plan. I think I think they're Ole Miss can get flat out outcoached in this game. I think that's what's ultimately going to happen in this one.
There we go. Yeah, I've got Georgia in my national championship, so I'm all in on the Dogs. What Kirby has been able to accomplish this season with, I would argue, the least NFL talent he's had in the past 5 years is just remarkable. Just shows why he's the best coach in college football. So, all right, we both got the Dogs. Moving on. Now we will get to the reverse order. We'll get to the Friday night game, which I think is, as two people who live in Ohio, I think this game hits close to home for us and is probably the most excited we are for this one. Although all of them are going to be epic games, so we're excited for each of them. But number 10, Miami Hurricanes, who are 11-2, taking on the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, who are 12-1. Buckeyes are favored by 9.5 in a game that has an over/under of 42. Spread is 9.5, like I said, but this is a game that you and I, Max, from other people I've talked to, you and I are two people who think this game is going to be closer than most do. I'll get into my reasons in a second. Tell me why you think this game, why that 9-point spread is a little too big.
Yeah, and I think it's probably around where I'd have it, maybe a little bit less than that. We'll get to score predictions in a little bit, but I think this Miami defense is a top 5 defense in the country, and I think, you saw Ohio State when they played like a defense like Indiana only scored 10 points in that game. I'm not gonna say they're gonna score that few in this one, but I think this Miami defensive line can really cause a lot of problems for Ohio State's offensive line, and I think, Julian Sayin, we'll see how he can handle the pressure in this one. I think Julian Sayin is maybe the best quarterback left in the playoff, even over Mendoza or Dante Moore. That kid's been phenomenal this year, but I'm really looking at.
If all were draft eligible, I would take Sayin first.
Oh, not even close. Not even close. Yeah, that kid's phenomenal. Yeah. But you saw in the Indiana game when they got consistent pressure on him, he was good, not great. And I think Miami can cause him to be that too. Now the big question is, can Carson Beck do anything against this Ohio State defense? That's the question to know, but I do think Miami's defense can keep them in this game enough to have a shot at winning this game. We'll see if I'll get my score prediction later, but whether or not I think that will happen. But I do think that Miami's defense can give Ohio State's offense a lot more issues than people think they would.
I'm with you. Yeah, to me, this is an even battle of the trenches. Even battle of O-line, D-line, across the board, NFL talent on both teams. You got top 3 D-line in Miami. I mean, we just saw what they did to A&M, who was ranked as one of the best O-lines in the country, and they just exposed them. 27 pressures. I mean, we know about Bain. We know about Mesidor. We know how good Miami's O-line is as well. Both sides, obviously, Caden Curry and OSU's D-line, they got some dudes over there, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, who I think are the two top linebackers for the NFL draft right now. On the season, Max, Ohio State has only allowed 11 sacks. Miami has only allowed 13. I think a lot of people are thinking this is a mismatch across the lines, which that's the part I would argue is the most even, where Miami could even have a potential advantage. I think a lot of people are discounting this Miami team, thinking it's like, oh, ACC, like they're like, one of the lower ranked teams. And it's like, that is not the case at all. They have dudes on both sides of the ball, and they can match up with Ohio State physicality wise. I think they're one of the few teams that can match up with Ohio State physicality-wise. And like you mentioned, the only two games where Julian Sayin has really truly looked human was the Texas game and the Indiana game. Both games where they got pressure on him. Indiana game, in fact, he was sacked 5 times. The only time he was sacked more than twice all season in that game, which you just mentioned. Indiana's pass rush has a pass rushing grade of 81.7. Miami's has a 92.1. So they're better on paper than Indiana's. The biggest advantage for Ohio State, which we'll get into, is Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, and obviously Julian Sayin. But I would say that's where the biggest mismatch is Miami's secondary versus Ohio State's weapons. We know Keontae Scott is back for Miami, but he's more of a slot cover, still at a 90 coverage grade. Talk about those mismatches on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm with you that they do have the advantage Ohio State does over, but I mean Miami's secondary has been elite this year too. So like I think that that could be more of a good matchup than people think. I mean, to me, the biggest mismatch in the whole game is Carson Beck against his defense. I think if Ohio State does win, which I do think they're going to do, and I will get to my score prediction later on, I think we're going to look back on it and be like, man, Miami's defense really put them in a place to win this game, and Carson Beck just could not do it. And I think that is what we're going to see, because Carson Beck was not good against Texas A&M. Like, if he scored 10 points in that game, he really struggled out there. Now you go against an Ohio State defense that has not allowed 17 points in any game this year. I think that to me, why I'm hesitant to say Miami will do it. I think they can do it, but why I'm hesitant to say that they will beat Ohio State is I don't think Carson Beck is going to be able to go out there against that defense and put up enough points to win this game ultimately for the Hurricanes. So that to me is the biggest mismatch in the game and why I'm picking Ohio State to win this one. But Miami's got a shot, man. I mean, with that defense, and we'll see what happens in that game. But I think with that defense, they certainly have a shot. And, you said it before, you can argue that Miami has the trench advantage on both sides of the ball, offensive line and defensive line. And if you have the advantage in the offensive line and defensive line on both sides, that's a big advantage, right? So I think that's a matchup where I'm looking at and saying, man, 9.5 points, and when you're telling me that Miami's a better team in the trenches, that's a little dangerous for Ohio State right there.
For sure. I think that right there is Miami's key to victory, and really their only path to victory is keeping out of 3rd and long. Ideally, if Mark Fletcher can keep them out of 3rd and long and get some yards on the ground, that can keep the chains moving for Miami, keep the clock moving, keep Julian Sayin and company off the field. Beck is going to have to play a lot better. I mean, Carson Beck, that goes without saying. Carson Beck is going to have to play a lot better. This is a guy who's 35-5 in his career as a collegiate starter. I know he's, a lot of those wins were at Georgia where they just don't lose football games. So, but he was still the one making the throws. He has had big moments in big games before. I do expect will play better in this one. He's going to have to. I mean, only 102 yards and a lot of those yards were on that pop pass to Tony just after the catch. So the one thing in Beck's favor that he has going for him is he is elite at getting the ball out on time. He gets the ball out better than anybody in the country almost. 2.33 seconds, which is second in the nation according to you guys at PFF. He's going to have to throw on time. He's going to have to be protected, which will come down to, Francis Mawanoa and that O-line withstanding OSU's elite pass rush and company. But that is Miami's path, is Beck playing great and winning them this game. Mark Fletcher and company not putting them in obvious passing downs where he's going to need to, buy time from the OSU pass rush and protection. Because if they get behind the chains, that's where OSU just gets home all day, and that's where they will make them one-dimensional, and that's where they'll win this game. We haven't talked about Bo Jackson. I want to mention him because he has come on so strong for Ohio State this season. I think he could be their key to victory, which we know how good Smith and Tate are, the two best wide receivers in the country, in my opinion. And we know what Sayin can do with his arm. Bo Jackson could be the key to success for Ohio State, given how strong he's come on. He didn't even play in the Texas game. Tell us about him and what he has going for this Ohio State offense.
No, that's a great point by you. I think the big key to this game you mentioned before is whoever can put their quarterback in fewer third and long situations. And I think Fletcher and Jackson are going to be huge for that. I think they're both fantastic running backs. You saw Mark Fletcher. I mean, he was the hero for Miami's offense in that game against A&M. I think he'll be big in this one too. And then Bo Jackson, he's been probably the best Power 4 freshman running back we've had in the country this year. I don't want to say best overall freshman because Caleb Hawkins at North Texas is pretty awesome. But Bo Jackson, man, he's a stud. And I think he's kind of filled in the shoes that big shoes left behind by Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson very, very nicely. And he's been really good. Now, Miami's defensive line is elite. Miami's entire run defense has been elite this year. But I think Bo Jackson, if he can get enough on the ground and just give Julian Sain, third and medium, third and shorts, that I think will be huge. I think you put it well. I think the key to this game is whatever quarterback can be in fewer third and longs. And I do trust Julian Sain more so than Carson Beck in third and long. But I think the key in this game could be whoever gets enough out of their run game to not put too much pressure on their quarterback.
All right, Max, give me your score prediction for this one, and then I will give you mine.
I will say Ohio State 21-14. Again, I don't know. I don't think Ohio State's going to go out there and put up a ton of points. I think Miami's defense will put up a very valiant effort. Problem is, like I said before, Ohio State has not allowed 17 points in any game this year. I do not think Carson Beck and this Miami offense will do that. So I struggle to see how Miami's going to score more than 20. I think 20 points might be the maximum for them. Again, I don't know if they'll hit that. So I have 21-14 Ohio State. Again, defense for Miami puts up a great effort and really makes this game close for the entire game, but I just do not see Carson Beck and this Miami offense scoring enough against what's been arguably a top 3 defense in the country all year. I don't see them putting up enough points to ultimately win this game for the Hurricanes.
Okay, I'll give you my pick here. Now, let me start with, this was a preseason bracket pick I made before the season even started back in August. We did our brackets. We put in our 12 teams of who we thought. I had these two teams playing in a 7-10 matchup. So technically we got it right, except OSU's the 2 and not the 7. However, what do I always tell you? Say, trust the analysis, go with your gut. Before the season, I picked Miami to beat Ohio State in a college football playoff game as a 10-7. We have made it to this point in the season. I cannot bail on that pick, Max. Can't do it. I got to trust my gut. I got to go with the first take. I got to trust the analysis. I am sticking with the Miami Hurricanes. I think we're getting Carson Beck versus Georgia. I think it's happening. I think we're going to get Carson Beck rematch versus Gunnar Stockton and the Georgia Bulldogs, which the football gods will just make happen. We know it's coming. I got Miami scoring exactly 17 points. I think they get a late field goal in that game to take a lead and win 17-14. I think their defense wins them this football game. I think they put Sain under duress. I think Beck makes just enough throws and steps up. I think he finds a way to get it done and wins 17-14. Miami Hurricanes upset pick.
I love it, dude. That means you have 3 out of the 4 games you have an upset, which I think would be awesome.
That's not good. It's fun, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it works out for me.
I think, like I said, the only game where I really struggled to see how they can do it is the Ole Miss game, and I think you're right to pick Georgia in that one. Those other 3 games, man, there is a world, and I think that I'm glad that you at least picked it, because that at least shows, your viewers and whoever else that, like, hey, these 3 games are not, it's not Ohio State by a mile, it's not Indiana by a mile or anything like that. There's a world out here where they can pull it off. So again, I didn't pick it personally, but I do appreciate you picking that and saying, hey, listen, man, these games are not going to be as lopsided as you think they might be.
They've got a chance. I just don't think they're as big of mismatches as a lot of people are saying they are on paper, and I think Miami's not a team who's going to be afraid of. I think Beck has been there and done that. And trust me, Ohio State is as good as it gets. I mean, what the respect I give them as a program and what I think of their program and Ryan Day as a whole and saying and all of it. I got to stick with Miami in this one, getting it done, because I think we're getting that Carson Beck versus Georgia game. So We'll see how it goes. All right, that's enough preview for the 4 college football quarterfinal games. Before I let you go, Max, I talked to Dalton about a couple transfer portal quarterbacks I liked last week. So I want to get your thoughts on a couple new guys who have just entered the portal who are like talking about entering the portal here. And then we'll move on. So first name on the list, he actually played in a bowl game a couple days ago. He's kind of the hot topic right now. Drew Mestemaker, North Texas quarterback, just set their program record for 34 passing touchdowns. He is leading the nation in passing yards by like 700 yards more than anybody else. Just insane. Elite arm talent to be an NFL quarterback. What do you think of Mestemaker and where he's headed?
Big fan of him. We actually are making a big board for the transfer portal, and right now I'm looking at it right now. He's number 3 overall on the big board, number 2 quarterback. Behind, of course, your guy Sam Levitt.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so, it has to be number 1. Yeah,
yeah. Messmaker, I'm a huge fan of him, dude. He actually, the crazy stat I always love saying is like he never started a game of varsity football, like because he actually there's a 4-star Louisville quarterback that was at his high school that was, I think, his same class that just started over him the entire time. So, like, he kind of went under-recruited. Nobody knew who this kid was. Goes to North Texas, a walk-on. And then all of a sudden, man, you watch his tape. He is a cannon of an arm.
Hey, so that's Kyle Trask. Didn't Kyle Trask not start a game? And then he was, in the Heisman picture for Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you might be right. Which is crazy that you could have
even under Felipe Franks. Yeah, he never started. But, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think what I really hope happens, and I don't know if it will because I haven't heard much about him. I hope Indiana goes after him. I think he is the perfect quarterback for that system. I think Indiana's kind of looking at some other guys from everything I'm reading so far. I think most likely we see Drew Mestemaker follow his coach Eric Morris to Oklahoma State, which is I wouldn't hate that at all. I would rather see. I think Mestemaker goes to a big time program like an Indiana, like a Miami, like an LSU, or whoever else needs a quarterback right now. This guy can win a Heisman Trophy. I really think that. I think this guy could really end up being one of the best quarterbacks in America. At Oklahoma State, might not happen because they're still kind of rebuilding mode right now. But if I'm a school that needs a quarterback right now, he is one of the first calls I'm making. And like I said, only a redshirt freshman this year. I truly think this guy has Heisman Trophy upside at the right place.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country. I think we're going to see him playing on Sundays someday. I'm with you. So I ultimately think he probably will follow the coach Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. You're going to see his name mentioned in the LSUs, the Indianas of the world, Florida, stuff like that. I think if he's trying to actually win a lot of football games next year, probably want to do that at one of the bigger programs. I think Oklahoma State could still they'll probably just be looking to get to a bowl game next season, which could be a huge accomplishment for that program. But we'll see where I know his receiver Wyatt Young, I believe, entered the portal as well. I just saw the freshman running back did as well. So North Texas is losing a lot, but he could. I wonder if those weapons will all go to the same school and try and recreate that chemistry. So. Next guy, this is a guy I like. I know you're maybe not as high on him. Josh Hoover. This is a guy who's played a lot of football in his day, a lot of good football, and then a lot of inconsistent football. I think he has a good arm. He's accurate, throws a nice layered ball over the middle of the field. But sometimes he kind of lets the ball sail on him a little bit. It felt like he kind of, I don't want to say overstayed his welcome at TCU because they won a lot of football games. But it seems like they kind of maxed out with him in that offense at 8-4 the past 2 seasons. And with wide receivers like Jordan Dwyer and Eric McAllister, I would have expected a little higher ceiling for them. Where do you think could fit Josh Hoover, and what do you like about his game?
Yeah, so Pete Nakos actually just dropped an article today on On3. He's one of the best in the business at covering the portal and honestly college football in general. And he mentioned Louisville and Indiana are the 2 schools to watch right now for Josh Hoover. And I think either of them would be great fits for him. I think you go to Louisville, Jeff Brom, who's one of the best one of the best coaches.
I like that
at developing quarterbacks. Yeah, or Indiana, which if Indiana offers me a quarterback, I'm probably going there, considering what they've done with Curtis Rourke, and then obviously developing a Heisman Trophy winner this year in Fernando Mendoza. So I think either of those schools would make a lot of sense. And I do like Josh Hoover. I think he's still a top. I think I have him like QB5 in the portal right now. So he's a really good player. Had a really good couple of years at TCU. I'm excited to see what he could do now. But yeah, if he goes to Louisville or Indiana, would be really two fun landing spots for him.
There we go. Two guys who are a little more familiar to you probably. One in particular, a former Penn State quarterback, has re-entered the portal, Bo Pribula from Missouri. I thought he had a good season, obviously at the start for Missouri. I mean, he was one of PFF's highest graded quarterbacks for like the first 3 weeks of the season. Then went through some injuries, came back, wasn't the same quarterback ultimately, but I thought he did a lot of good things for Missouri in that offense. I was a little shocked when I saw he entered the portal. Where do you think could fit Bo? Because he's more of a dual threat guy, likes to run, and came on more as a passer for Missouri, but ultimately his best weapon is his legs still.
Yeah, you're right. He started off really well against subpar competition. When they got into the meat of the SEC schedule was when he started to fall apart a little bit. So I don't know. I think he's okay. I think he's a solid quarterback. I don't think he's anything special. I think the school to watch for me, at least right now, is probably Virginia Tech. Obviously, James Franklin's there now. He's former coach at Penn State. Yeah, I think they need a quarterback this year. I could see Bo Pribula following James Franklin to Virginia, or not following him, but going to Virginia Tech with James Franklin. I don't think Penn State is really in the mix. I don't think that's as much of a school to watch out for him right now. I mean, honestly, I know it didn't really work out well at Missouri this year, but maybe Washington State too, because Kirby Moore, the Missouri OC, is now the head coach at Washington State, so maybe he brings Bo Pribula with him. Again, I don't know about that because it didn't really work out with Kirby Moore and Bo Pribula at Missouri, but at least they're familiar with each other. But yeah, I would probably say Virginia Tech for me right now is probably the school to watch for Bo Pribula.
I like that fit a lot, being a familiar face with James Franklin there. Speaking of Penn State, this next quarterback, is he going to be the next starter at Penn State, or do we think we'll see him elsewhere? That is Rocco Beck from Iowa State I'm referring to. Do you think he will follow Matt Campbell into State College?
Most likely, yeah. I think they are pretty clearly the team to watch out for him. Now, Ethan Grunkemeyer did play well in the
I thought he played well.
Game.
I was just going to mention him. I thought he actually looked pretty solid, and which not a lot of people talked about him down the stretch of like he actually kind of did all right for that Penn State offense and won them a few games. The Clemson game, he was impressive.
Yeah, again, I liked what I saw from him. Now, maybe Matt Campbell wants to go with a more proven guy immediately at Penn State, which I think makes sense, and he knows Rocco Becht inside and out, obviously being there with him for multiple years at Iowa State. So I expect him to go to Penn State and start for Matt Campbell next year, and then who knows with Ethan Grunkemeyer might enter the portal if that happens. But, yeah, I do think Rocco Becht most likely is probably going to end up at Penn State.
There we go. Fantastic stuff, Max. That puts us at 1 hour, man. There we go. My first hour-long show. So appreciate you coming on. Tell us where we can watch all your shows at next.
Yeah, if you want to watch the PFF College Football Show, it's on YouTube and anywhere you get a podcast too, with me and Dalton. So yeah, man, it's been a fun time, and the portal is getting absolutely nuts right now. So it's going to be fun to break it all down as we get into the portal season.
Can't wait to do it. Once again, I'll recap our picks real quick before we go. So the picks we share, we each have Texas Tech and we each have Georgia. And then you've got Ohio State and Indiana moving on. I've got the two underdogs in that one, Alabama and Miami winning those games. We'll see how it works for me, how I recap these games on Friday. I can't wait to watch these, man. Looking forward to New Year's Eve.
Absolutely, man.